Hey, it's Jonathan here. You might know me from the Discord or the BGG forums, answering your rules questions and helping teach Ascendancy. Today we're going to be looking at House Roberts, some of my favorite combos, along with opening strategies while playing House Roberts. So let's dive in. It's pirate time. House Roberts, opening strategies and fun strategies that I like to use when playing as House Roberts. So if you've seen any of my other kind of opening and strategy videos, you'll know that we want to take a look at that first Empire card. All the houses have a passive enhancement that they get the first time they ascend their empire. In this case, it is the Way of Discovery. Gain +2 renown for every 3 identified loot tokens that you control. So House Roberts, as pirates, they're obviously all about loot. They want to collect as much loot as they can, and so we're going to want to try and dive into that strategy a little bit. Potentially one of the best opening strategies is to kind of go for that loot, and so you can utilize the Sky Observatory, the scout action, in Decade 1 in District 1 to just try and claim as much loot as you can before you're even moving around on the map. If we build a couple things up in the Sky Observatory tech tree, there is one tech in particular that is super helpful that I like to try and get if I am going for the loot route, and that is a Tier 2 Antique Dealer. This is another passive enhancement, and it says all players, or any players of my choice, may sell identified loot onto this card. Sellers gain 1 coin per loot tier, and you control all antiques. So this means that you can sell your own identified loot to yourself, basically, gaining coins. It also incentivizes other people to use their identified loot tokens that are worthless to them, but they do have to give them to you, but they are gaining a coin. You control all the loot here, which does work for that Way of Discovery, every 3 loot tokens that you control identified. So the Antique Dealer is kind of a way of storing these up, giving yourself extra income, and kind of setting yourself up for that Way of Discovery. So if I'm going that route, I like to try and set myself there, just with the Antique Dealer, try and grab as much loot as possible via either the Sky Observatory, which is kind of a better scout action. It lets you identify loot and then scout. So you can either be scouting this way, which is kind of the recommended way for House Roberts, or you can just take the normal scout action. Either way is going to give you extra loot, and then collect as much of it as you can. Now, for House Roberts, one of the really cool abilities that they have is the Clock Tower. This is probably my favorite thing to do with House Roberts. Is it actually a viable winning strategy? Who knows? But it is a lot of fun. The Clock Tower lets one of your workers act again in one of the places that they are. So let's say you send somebody to, we're going for loot again. Let's say you send somebody to scout. You can now patron the Clock Tower and have them scout again. So you're scouting twice in one thing, collecting 2 loot tokens before we even get to the movement phase. Another thing you can do with the Clock Tower is collect double the resources. Skill cubes are often really rare. So are food or ore if people are building or moving a lot. So you can send somebody to go get one of those and then patron the Clock Tower, then gain a second of that resource. And the deeper you go into the Clock Tower, you actually get to utilize any worker instead of just commoners. And then once you get all the way there, one of your workers acts again on any action spot in Districts 1 through 3, including occupied spots. So this means you can really just get a free action anywhere you want, regardless of who went there. So you don't have to worry about ousting, having a worker placed there. You can just go really crazy and do kind of whatever you want. So the Clock Tower is super awesome. You can also get some crazy stuff with the Clock Tower, with the Royal Advisor, which acts twice. which means you can kind of go nuts with the clock tower. So my favorite thing with the clock tower is just the crazy thing if you can take multiple actions of the same thing and kind of double down on whatever your strategy is. If you do go deep into the clock tower tech tree, obviously to gain its benefit, you really just have to build the first one, and then your other workers, like, you can use one of their abilities. But if you do go super deep into it, spell build is very helpful. You can unlock additional settlements this way, so that's a way to quickly get more settlements out on the map. And then if we go really deep in here, they've got a couple crazy tier 3 ones. You always go first, combats, actions, all of the things. And then this freeze time, it lets you basically stop somebody from doing something, which is pretty crazy. It only costs a mana stone, which you would have plenty of by the time you get there. And then if you actually look tier 1 in here, you've got Way of Creativity, meaning whenever you invest to gain a new tech card, you gain a second one of that same type. So if I get this tier 1, tier 2, I could grab spell build and something else. And then once I get to tier 3, I could actually unlock both of these. So it's pretty crazy stuff within that clock tower tree. And so that's probably my favorite thing to do with House Roberts, is just lean into the clock tower, see what kind of crazy stuff I can do with taking double actions every time I patron that. And then within that tech tree itself, there's some nifty stuff that you can do. So that's my House Roberts tips. What do you guys think? Are you team pirate? What are your favorite things to do as an opener? What are your favorite things to do with House Roberts? So thanks, guys. Bye.